Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 7th episode of the Pitchside podcast, and today, of course, we are going to be diving into the Champions League midweek fixtures. Like, share and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. You can join on Spotify and listen to the podcast as well. Follow me in the links in the description on Instagram, on Twitter, and join us again for more. You are welcome. Let's start straight away and get into the meat of things in the Champions League. And already in Group A, it's a big meaty clash between Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich, but not before an early kickoff between Lokomotiv Moscow and Salzburg. Quick words really about that game. Lokomotiv Moscow are, still in the game, still in the group pretty much, trying to vie for a second place. A win against Salzburg, depending on the results, and the Wanda Metropolitano maybe propel them to a potential second place behind Bayern Munich. Atletico Madrid are 5 points at the moment, and second, 3 for Lokomotiv Moscow from the draws, and the only loss against Bayern, which, to be fair, they could have won that game out, or at least could have gotten a draw out of it. For Lokomotiv Moscow, it's all about getting the 3 points now. For Salzburg, their hopes are already dashed. They cannot really put any kind of effort into trying to get something more than what they could. Maybe the last hope is to get a Europa League spot, try to finish third, finish decent, save their face, and go to the Europa League on a high. In that game between Lokomotiv Moscow and Salzburg, of course, the first game ended 2-2. In Austria, that was in the back end of September, back end of October actually. Lokomotiv Moscow are missing quite the list of players, including, of course, more importantly, Grigory Krychowiak and Fyodor Smolov. Questionable status for Anatoly Miranchuk. That may put their hopes of winning this game into big danger, considering how crucial both these guys are for the Russian outfit. For Salzburg, no real injury crisis as much as the teams have. They're only missing one player through injury in Antoine Brenady, the midfielder for Salzburg. Patson Daka is questionable, but maybe he is fit for today's game. Again, hopefully for Salzburg. They try to snatch something out of this game in order to get a Europa League spot, that last hope in the group. Moving on to the big game, to Atletico Madrid hosting Bayern Munich in the Wanda Metropolitano. It is quite the fascinating game. This is, of course, a game that Atletico Madrid are expected to get something out of, for a lot of reasons, for a lot of considerations. Bayern Munich are missing quite a bunch of players. They're missing big names, all the big names pretty much, for various reasons. Alphonso Davies, Kimmich, Manuel Neuer, Tolisso, Lewandowski, Goretzka, for various reasons. Hansi Flick decided to give them a rest, of course. He knows that he has the group. I mean, some people would say why he doesn't play them. He should be chasing the record. He should be chasing 16 wins in a row in the Champions League. Bayern already have a record of 15, so why run their players to the ground? Why risk themselves getting more injuries? I think that's understandable. They already have the likes of Boateng went down against Stuttgart, but he's fit from what it looks to play. Lucas Hernandez, there was a little bit of a worry about him in the Champions League last time out against Salzburg, but he was fine to play against Stuttgart at the weekend. Understandable also to rest Lewandowski, Goretzka, Manuel Neuer. Mark Roca is going to be missing because of suspension, of course. His first game of the Champions League was ended with a send-off against Salzburg at home, which is not the good ending that you want to have in a game like this. We have to mention here that Hansi Flick resting these players isn't against any normal laws. Like, I can see a lot of people on social media going like, why Hansi Flick arresting these players? Why he doesn't go for the jugular? Why he doesn't go for the win? This season 2020-2021, that's hard to say, has been quite a roller coaster. You cannot play with the whole full squad. You should be having some sort of rotation, and Bayern already were forced to this rotation by injury law, just as some of the other big teams in Europe do. So it doesn't matter for them, really, that they get the 16th win or not, they're already qualified. Maybe for a prestige point of view, you can understand why Bayern would play like this. So potentially, this would give, not potentially, actually this will give a rare start for Noble, the second goalkeeper who hasn't played a minute in official competition. Of course, sitting on the bench to Manuel Neuer is something you won't like, but it is forced on you by Manuel Neuer just being the best keeper there is right now in the world. Bayern's record against Spanish game away isn't exactly good. Winning 2, drawing 1 and losing 4 in the last 7. The victories, though, were by the tightest of margins as well. This game for Bayern Munich is not a must-win. For Atletico, though, for the Spanish side, it is a must-win. For Atletico, they cannot accept another result other than winning. They cannot accept another result other than having the 3 points. Maybe they would get satisfied with the draw, but depending on what could happen in Moscow, between RB Salzburg and Lokomotiv Moscow, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is secured, nothing is really safe for Atletico Madrid in this group yet. They could have made it safer in Russia and even more in the home game against Lokomotiv Moscow, where they couldn't manage to score, they were pretty futile, which is the case with Atletico Madrid, but that's because of their style of play, how they want to play, not because they can't score. They certainly can score and have the players to do that. We saw a couple of times this season already that they can score, they can attack, they can go forward, but not with the same intensity and the frequency that you expect from a side like, say, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Liverpool, who have a more offensive mindset and a more offensive-minded coach. For Atletico Madrid, surely this should be that time. If they're going to grab anything out of this game, like this is a game where Bayern are deprived of basically the entire first team. If you're counting, for me they are. I mean, aside from Gnabry, Müller, I don't think that the rest is going to be playing our first team necessarily, because you're going to see the likes of maybe Bouna Sarr getting started. You're going to be seeing Alaba moving to the left back and Martinez being a centre back, or Lucas Hernandez starting as a left back and Martinez starting at the centre, starting at the midfield in a 4-1-4-1 formation, which I think is going to be the most likely to happen from a Bayern Munich point of view. Again, the game is not a must-win for Bayern, it is a must-win for Atletico, though they look out of depth. Atletico look out of depth sometimes. The last game against Valencia wasn't exactly a walk in the park. A 1-0 result via an own goal. It's not a pleasant experience, not a pleasant win for Atletico, not a pleasant performance for Simeone, but certainly they would take 3 points where they can. And this is another game where they will take the 3 points if they can, and they should be the aggressors pretty much. They should be the ones going forward, they should be the ones putting Bayern on the back foot and pressing them to get the win and to get an important win, because if they don't win today, and Lokomotiv Moscow managed to win against Salzburg, this is flipping the entire group on its head, behind Bayern of course, because Bayern are already through. It will flip the entire group on its head. It will give Lokomotiv Moscow a head start. It will give them a huge boost, because guess what? Yes, they travel to face Bayern in the last game. Yes, they're not going to be winning, per se, necessarily. But they will have hope. They will have hope that Atletico could fall against Salzburg and they could get something against Bayern, who I would assume they'll be doing the same kind of thing next week against Lokomotiv Moscow when they host them at home. Probably they won't be playing them with the first team as well, considering that they have a big game in the end of the week against Leipzig, so certainly they're going to be putting all their big guns in that game against Leipzig in the Bundesliga before finishing the Champions League campaign against Lokomotiv Moscow. So as it stands in Group A, Bayern Munich, 12 points, 15 goals, scored the strongest attack. Atletico Madrid, 5 points behind them, 7 goals already conceded, and they look a little bit shaky in the Champions League. I like their form in La Liga, which is really, really good. I'm impressed with them in La Liga, but not so in the Champions League. Lokomotiv Moscow, third with 3 points, Salzburg with 1 single point behind. That is Group A for you. In Group B, another one of the early kickoffs in Shakhtar Donetsk versus Real Madrid. This game is all about revenge. The only headline you could put against this game and aside this game is revenge for Real Madrid. There's no two ways about it. Real Madrid should be winning this game, not just for the revenge for themselves in the first game at home when they lost 3-2 in a very horrible way, where they were bossed in the first half by Shakhtar Donetsk, but also considering the last performance that they had against Alaves in the Liga, which was a horrible show from all players. Defense, midfield, less so attack, they created chances, but the defensive and the midfield part of their performance was very much lacking any sort of guile, any sort of effectiveness. Thibaut Courtois, for all the saves that he made in the game, he gave a horrendous goal to Joselu for a 2-0 trailing against Alaves. They ended up losing the game. They ended up losing in a bad performance. And considering that they're going to be still missing Ramos, Valverde, Dani Carvajal for this game, and they're going to be probably missing Hazard, he's not going to be 100% fit. Even if he's fit, he's not going to be 100%. Even if he plays and he starts the game, he's not going to be 100%. He's going to be less than that. So you have to ask yourself, are Real Madrid really heading into this game as favourites? Are they heading into this game as, big odds-on favourite to win and to settle things down and to qualify for the next round and to avoid the scare of the last game against Mönchengladbach at home? Because that game as well is pretty tricky. It's not just about winning against Shakhtar Donetsk and, okay, it's done, we win against Shakhtar Donetsk, it's done, we are through. No, the game against Mönchengladbach is pretty tricky as well. They need to hold their nerves to win against Borussia Mönchengladbach at home. They need to hold their defense better. They need to consider the fact they need more organization in that midfield, who looked all sorts of lost against Alaves, even with Casemiro in. And considering that Casemiro was a sub in that game, it just doesn't make a lick of sense why Real Madrid are this woozy, why are this unbalanced. Everybody thought after the game against Inter Milan, okay, fine, this is Real Madrid, they're going to be doing their thing, they're going to be having some problems, yes, but they will get through. But it's not necessarily guaranteed they will get through. It's not necessarily guaranteed that they will win against Shakhtar Donetsk. It's not guaranteed that they will perform well, even if they win. Because of all accounts now, Real Madrid are 7 points against Shakhtar Donetsk. If they lose, Shakhtar Donetsk are going to be above them, despite the fact that Shakhtar Donetsk have a -9 goal difference. They took 10 from Mönchengladbach home and away, 6 in Ukraine and 4 in Germany. Yet, if they win against Madrid somehow, they will be above them and they will have bigger chance to qualify than Real Madrid if they manage something out of the Inter match and the trip to Italy next week. Speaking of Italy, and speaking of Inter, they face Borussia Mönchengladbach at home, away from home, in the Borussia Park, in a game that I really find myself inclined to say that Borussia Mönchengladbach are going to win it, just because they seem much more realistic. They have the momentum going about them now. Yes, they lost in between the couple of Shakhtar Donetsk game in the Champions League to Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga 4-3, but then they bounced back. They won against Shakhtar 4-0, and then they won against Schalke, predictably, in the Bundesliga, I would say, 4-1, and now they face Inter. And they entered this game without 3 of their biggest players in Rami Ben-Sabini, Nico Alvedi, and Jonas Hoffmann. It doesn't really put a lot on Mönchengladbach. There's no pressure really on Mönchengladbach to win or like to force themselves into doing more than they can. But they are at the top of the group. They need to maintain some sort of positioning at the top of their group. They need the win to basically seal the deal. No more, no less. They need to win to seal the deal. They need to win to go through, to avoid the headaches before the Real Madrid game. I mean, this group still open to any sort of possibility of teams qualifying. Still open to maybe Inter getting something late ahead of both Shakhtar Donetsk and Mönchengladbach, but that will depend on miracles happening in this fixture and in this round for Inter to qualify. I think the best they could do at this point, maybe if they don't win against Mönchengladbach, the best they could do is Europa League. And it could be worse for them, despite bouncing back in the Serie A, winning against Sassuolo, impressive result 3-0 without Romelu Lukaku, whom they will be, of course, will be joining their squad. He will be in the Champions League, fortunately for them, although he didn't have the best of outing against Real last time out. But they're going to be deprived of other players. Vidal, Vecino, Nainggolan and Kolarov are going to be still missing for them. Inter's first game against Mönchengladbach is one that they should forget, really. They didn't have the best of outings as well. They almost lost it, only for Lukaku late equaliser. Inter need to win. Mönchengladbach need to win, for various reasons, for different reasons. But I'm inclined to go with Mönchengladbach winning, because I feel that they are the more coherent side. I feel that they are the more understanding side to what they need to do, more than Antonio Conte, who seems like he is not convinced of what his side is doing. He's not convinced of what his team does. He's not convinced of what Inter are doing. He's not convinced with a right set of mind, right plan to play. Despite the shape clear, like it's 3-5-2. You say Antonio Conte, it's a 3-5-2, but he's not convinced of who he should play sometimes. He's not convinced of the changes that he should make, and the games against Real, both home and away, show that he doesn't know when to do changes sometimes. He doesn't know when to make the right move at the right time with the right player and try to flip the script on the opponents. That cost him both games against Real Madrid, that cost him the game against Mönchengladbach, and cost him the game against Shakhtar Donetsk, which quite frankly, they could have won to give themselves a better boost, a better head start in this match. So Group B stands like this. Borussia Mönchengladbach are on top, 8 points, 14 goals, quite a strong attack, quite a strong defense, conceding only 4. Real Madrid 7 points behind, Shakhtar Donetsk with 4 at third, and Inter 4th with 2 points. Hopefully they will get something. I mean, it's going to be sad to see one of these two favourites to go through on top go out, but more it looks like Inter are going to be likely going out, but we never know. I mean, mathematically speaking, there's a possibility that Real Madrid could still go out of this group and go to the Europa League, which is going to be the craziest thing to ever happen probably in football in 2020 if that happens. Moving on from Group B to Group C, and the group that I don't want to talk about too much because it doesn't deserve to talk about too much. This group has been decided since the day it was drawn back in September. FC Porto versus Manchester City, a game to determine who's going to be on top, really. I mean, maybe Manchester City have slight advantage of being on top. The last couple of games against Porto, they are quite. The last game against Porto, which is the first, ended 3-1 for Manchester City. Quite the comfortable victory was back then. Eventually, not in its entirety, really. If you watched the game, it wasn't that comfortable, but the scoreline and the margin made it look so. This game is formalities, all about getting to the top, all about sealing the deal for Manchester City. They don't really need to force themselves through doing anything. They don't have loads of injuries like other teams do. They're only going to be missing Aguero. They have quite a full squad to choose from. And hopefully I see Riyad Mahrez start, and hopefully I see Riyad Mahrez continue his brilliance. He scored a hat-trick against Burnley in the Premier League. He should be getting more starts. He should be getting more time to play. He should be getting more freedom to play the style he wants, and he links up with De Bruyne brilliantly, links up with Sterling, links up with Ferran Torres, all those of these players, and do his tricks well, just like he was doing it at Leicester and before. So Mark Grujic, Pepe, Marcano are missing from Porto. Though these absentees and these injuries are not going to be affecting Porto a lot, they don't need to do much also in this game. They qualified. It won't matter if they qualify first or second, but maybe they will need to qualify first just to get a moral boost ahead of the next round and, prove that they are a decent side and prove that they may have a better fortune in the last extension to like 5 or 6 seasons in the Champions League, where they seem like they don't get past the first knockout round of 16. Marseille, poor Marseille. I mean, you look at their standings, 9 goals conceded, no goals scored. They are failing miserably at every aspect, despite clearly having a good form in French league. They're having quite the good form. They are playing some good football in France. They are quite high on the table in Ligue 1. They're not necessarily languishing in the mid-table or anything. In fact, they defeated Nantes last time out. They're quite close to the top, 4 points behind PSG despite being at 6, but that's because they're still missing 2 games, that's for 1. And for 2, they have like 4 teams with the same amount of points in 23 above them in Montpellier, Monaco, Lyon and Lille, all behind PSG at 23 points. This could be a good season in Liga. That aside, in the Champions League, their campaign has been horrible. No goals, nothing to show really for that good form. Andre Villas-Boas seems deprived of all solutions. They're going to be missing Beledi and Radonic. Hiroki Sakai, Morgan Sanson are questionable. Beledi, of course, they missed him because of the red card against Porto last time out. Porto are also going to be missing not Porto, Olympiacos Piros are missing Balbuena, Bruma and Randjelovic. They'll be trying to win the easiest game in the group. That is the easiest game in the group, probably. They will be trying to win in order to get some Europa League spots and to win a little bit of a morale boost as well before eventually going out to the Europa League. That is what it seems like for Olympiacos Piros, who are going to be traveling are going to be hosting Porto, that is, next time in the fixture. Group C stands like this, of course, no need to tell you more. You probably know the drill. Manchester City 12 points at the top, 4 victories, Porto 9 points behind them, Olympiacos with 3 points and Marseille. Very unfortunately for the only French side that won the Champions League, they are 0 points in the Champions League with 0 goals as well. It's just horrendous, considering this Champions League has the likes of Midland, Ferencváros in it. It is Marseille that are not scoring goals. Finishing off our Tuesday preview with the Group D, which is really open, open to all sorts of possibilities. Liverpool host Ajax, the big one in this group. This game, I mean, assuming that Atalanta are going to be winning the other game, I'm going to get to that. Liverpool seem to have quite the tough task against Ajax, and they made it tough because they played a lifeless performance to Atalanta at the Anfield last time out, and they don't lose at Anfield that often, which makes losing at Anfield for Liverpool quite the event, quite the big sort of hoopla, basically, that everybody focuses on. And they had quite the horrible showing as well against Brighton, even in the draw 1-1. They had quite the lifeless showing, and they lost James Milner to injury. And Jurgen Klopp went after the game, ranting about how injuries ravage his team, how his team is affected by the schedule. Understandably so, probably rightfully so. Yes, they are affected by the schedule, but so are all the big teams in Europe. Basically, all the teams that are playing the Champions League are affected in some way by the schedule. Why not all of them are ravaged by injuries? But still, he was justified in certain points. Back to the game. Liverpool, last time out, lost to Atalanta because they were complacent, maybe, chose to play a second side, chose to play a B team that didn't do the proper work. Yes, but do they really need to win this game? Absolutely. Is a loss or a draw in this game bad? Yes, definitely, because they are, traveling to Midland, and yes, they're traveling to a side that probably is the basket of the group, and they will guarantee that they will win, but you don't know really what could happen in that trip. So if Liverpool are going to guarantee their qualification, they need to beat Ajax, and they need to beat Ajax in the most comfortable and convincing way, because Ajax are picking steam now. They won against Midland, the draw against Atalanta. They had 2 easy games against Midland, back and forth, away and home. They won by quite the aggregate score. Really, they won in the first game, 2-1, 3-1 at home in Netherlands. It is 5-2 overall. They are quite on the good run in Eredivisie. Their last loss overall was the one against Liverpool in the early fixtures of the Champions League, 1-0 away from home, which everybody expected that Liverpool would not be winning, because that was at the time where they just missed Van Dijk because of the injuries. So, as I mentioned, speaking of the injuries, it is the same drill for Liverpool. Alcantara, Arnold, Joe Gomez, Van Dijk, of course, long-term. Shaqiri, Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, another long-term. Questions over Naby Keita. Could he play? Could he not? And after that, James Milner, after the last game against Brighton. We'll see how Jurgen Klopp deal with the pressure here, because it seems like Liverpool, this is the 3rd year in a row where Liverpool just seem to not grasp any sort of control over the group, or seem to be slipping at the last moment, slipping at the moment where they don't need to drop points, they drop points. They were going good, they were going fine. The loss against Atalanta just changed the complexion of the group, gave Atalanta an edge because they have an easier game, which transitions smoothly to the game against Atalanta and Midland. Easy game. I don't think that I should talk about it that much. It's expected. Atalanta should be winning this fair and square, quite comfortable, probably by a good margin, just like the one they won with in Denmark early in the campaign, 4-0 away from home. They should be winning this one, despite some serious dip in the form in Serie A. They're going to be missing quite the good number of players. Caldara, they're going to be missing Golini, Milinovsky, Miranchuk, Pasalic. But they still have enough quality up front in the likes of Gomez, Ilicic and Zapata to win that game, to get across the finish line, to get 10 points. Because presuming they get 10 points, whatever happened at Liverpool-Ajax is not going to be interesting for Atalanta. It's going to be very interesting for Atalanta, specifically if it comes the Ajax way. If it is a draw, say, or it is a win for Ajax, more importantly, that will make Atalanta's clash against Ajax a very, 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 very big one, because the winner of the clash automatically is going to go through, hopefully for Liverpool, alongside them, because they have the easy game against Midland away from home. Group D stands like this, of course, in the end. Let's remind you with that. 9 points for Liverpool, 7 for both Ajax and Atalanta, though Ajax are above Atalanta with goal difference and head-to-head encounters, of course, because Ajax managed a win against Atalanta, managed to win against Atalanta at home and away from home too. So they're still waiting, of course. The game against Ajax, Atalanta, they're going to be travelling to Ajax. In the last fixture, Liverpool are going to be travelling also to Denmark to face Midland. That's all for the Tuesday preview of the Champions League. Hopefully we're going to be back tomorrow with the Wednesday portion of the Champions League midweek. Until then, I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. One last time, reminder, like, share, comment on the YouTube version of it, subscribe, to the channel. Hit us on Instagram, King of the Pitch, on Twitter at SideBSB. Join us for more, really. You are welcome. All feedback is appreciated. Listen to this version on Spotify as audio. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Stay safe and goodbye.